Hey everybody, how's it going? Andy Pride here with Milk and Cookies Total War. Wanted to hop on Rome 2 and cast a replay that I just played with MemcCann. I believe I'm saying that right. My apologies if I'm pronouncing that incorrectly, but he's a good tournament player. He's been a subscriber for a long time. Good player. Before I jump into the replay itself, though, I wanted to talk about a Simbri Woman for a second. Whenever I bring Suebi, and I actually have been really enjoying Suebi a lot, and barbarians in general a lot on this patch, but Simbri Women are really the only unit from the Daughters of Mars DLC pack that I feel like I use frequently. The Gladiatresses can be kind of decent, but at the end of the day they're kind of a throwaway unit. They're not that good, and they're the only one that I can really think of off the top of my head right now that seem usable except for the Simbri Woman. And every time I bring Suebi, I bring these girls. They have the 150 range, pretty high armor piercing, 35 missile damage, which isn't the highest armor piercing value of any archer in the game. I think Parthian foot archers have 40, and maybe Cretans as well. But I really like bringing these. The only problem with Simbri Bowmen are that they have 10 armor, so they actually kind of get destroyed in skirmish fights occasionally. Like if he focus fires really well, it's going to be difficult for you to kind of deal with that because they have such low armor. But I really like bringing them. I feel like winning the skirmish fight with Suebis actually can be really important, and I really don't think I've played Suebi in the last like 5 or 6 times I've brought them and not brought the Simbri Woman as my skirmish force. So I really like bringing 4 or 5 of them. I feel like they're pretty strong. Again, low armor being the only problem they have, but they actually have a hidden bonus versus cav as well because they use spears. So they're a lot of fun to bring, and if you target fire appropriately with them and just like target his skirmishers and have like 3 or 4 of your archers shooting at one of his, like they'll destroy a lot of skirmish fights. So I really like bringing them. Looking at MemcCann's army, he's got 3 levy pikemen, 2 Cretan archers, 3 regular archers, so I definitely should have a skirmish advantage there. Of course, killing the Cretans is always kind of annoying because they have 40 armor and they're hard to kill in skirmish fights, but the other archers only have 125 range, they don't have 150, so those guys are easy to kill. And then he has a bunch of cheaper hoplites. He brought a lot of cheap hoplites this game, and then 6 Thessalian cav. So what he's going to be trying to do is get his cavalry out on the flanks and try to find some openings to get at my skirmishers. I brought a lot of spears this game, though. I actually have a Modinaz spear, 3 spear wall, and then a spear levy. So I definitely have the tools to deal with all the cavalry that he brought. But if you see right there, I shot 3 volleys at this one Cretan, and on the first volley we only actually got 2 kills. So. And he got way more than that. He killed 40 of my Simbri Bowmen on his first volley, so that low armor can definitely hurt you in a skirmish fight, and of course they're going to lose one-on-one versus Cretans or some of the elite archers, but they're cheap, do a lot of damage. I like them a lot. So I had to pull back. I was like, yeah, that's way too much damage on one of my archers. They only have 1 kill. Got to pull them back and get them in a different position. I'm going to keep this spear levy up front. This is just a unit to test if he has fire at will off. He's a good player, so I'm not expecting him to shoot at them. But they also ward off enemy cavalry, so I just plopped that cheap spear unit. Any cav that comes up the middle is going to be warded off by that unit. So that's something I like to do, just keep a spear up front, and if my opponent isn't paying attention, then he's going to have fire at will on and end up shooting at a cheap unit that doesn't really matter. And it wards off cav, so it's nice. He's going to kind of do the same thing as well. He has the same idea. He has a militia hoplite up front. Difference is I'm not going to try any early cav action at all against Epirus. I only have 2 cavalry units, 2 riders of the hunt, and I'm just keeping spears on the flanks with them to help win any cavalry fights that he might try to take. And then in my middle here, I've got 3 sword masters and then some round shield swordsmen just as my main infantry body, and of course the 3 spear wall and the other units. So I'm going to do something kind of dumb. Now this isn't actually going to end up mattering very much, but I am going to shoot at these like maybe 1 or 2 volleys on these militia hoplites, and what he's doing here is actually really smart. If you want to avoid getting shredded by archer fire, you spread out in a really thin line, and that makes a lot of the arrow fire go over their head, and they're really just nowhere near as accurate. Like, if you look at the armor of these guys, they only have 55 armor. They shouldn't be surviving as well as they are, but I only have 4 kills on him, and that's just because he's spread out really thin, and I can't really do anything to hurt them. So I'm going to switch targets here to another hoplite unit. Again, I don't have anything to shoot at the moment because he hasn't moved up his archer, so maybe shouldn't have been wasting that ammo, but I did. And now he's trying to get around the flanks with the Thessalians, and it's just going to be very important in this battle for me to keep compact and make sure that his cavalry cannot get into my archers. I got to keep my cavalry close to my lines and my spears close to my lines. Because if I lose these archers at the beginning to some early cav action, and he can use early cav action, he has a lot of Thessalians on the field, then that's going to be difficult for me to win the battle. So gotta keep those archers alive, of course. They haven't made a whole lot of impact on the battle so far, though. Shooting into these heavily armored hoplites, just not the best target for them. So he's moving up now, and I feel like he's going to try to take this fight pretty soon here. You can see his guys closing in, and yeah, I took this fight here, the hoplite and spear wall. That's going to be a long fight, as you guys know, a very long, drawn-out fight with just spears. So I'm going to try to back it up with swordmasters, actually, to try to close that out quickly. And then the skirmish fight's going to start. He's going to move all his archers up, and getting those off the field is first priority. And then his Thessalians are going to come right here and try to get through the spear wall. And they actually are going to kill quite a few on the charge. But I was able to tie them down with a bunch of round shield swordsmen and my spears. And so I should be able to kill that Thessalian pretty quickly. And battle's starting to get a little disorganized at the moment. But what I have done is tied down a lot of his cavalry and then gotten spears into his cav as well. So he got these guys around the flank, but every time I caught one of his cav units, a spear unit was close as well, so I can kill those very quickly. And things are going, honestly, it looks really bad for me at the moment, honestly, because some of my archers are routing, and I kind of feel surrounded at the moment, but as soon as I kill these Thessalians, things are going to start turning around for me. So I just pulled the Cimbri bowman back. He wasn't actually able to get any cavalry really well into my archers. I mean, he's going to get this unit around the flank, but just target fire it, and it's going to die. And of course, they also have the bonus versus cabs. You can see they bust out the spears here, so they're not really going to be able to kill too many of the Cimbris either. So keeping what archers I do have alive left is going to be important. And the melee fight has started in earnest now. And Spear Levy going against some Etruscan hoplites, they're not going to win that fight, but it's a sword masters is how I'm going to turn the melee fight, of course. Haven't really taken any losses in these sword masters, and getting them into melee should be able to shred hoplites pretty quickly. And I was able to kill pretty much all of his early cav. Like, actually, I'm not sure he has any cav except this unit left on the field. So I definitely did what I needed to do there. His Royal Peltas are in melee, but actually, I don't think he's in melee mode with them, because they don't seem to be fighting. I think they might still be in jab mode, so that was a mistake on his part. But he's still targeting my Cimbri bowmen. They're taking some losses, but did get my cavalry around the flank. Okay, he had one Thessalian in the back here, I see. And that was just to ward off any cavalry that I got around the flank. So I noticed that he's going to try to charge them, and I'm like, no reason to take that engagement yet, so quickly get my spears closer to the melee fight, and then when he turns around, see if I can charge, but end up not doing that yet. And now I have more melee troops than he does, and his levy pikemen are actually making no impact on the battle at all in the back there. So every unit that I see isolated like this, I'm just going to surround. Didn't do a great job with the charge from behind. Actually, a lot of my Monaz here aren't engaged, so I should have taken more time to make sure that they were like spread out and got a full back charge. But I'm doing that all over the line, actually, just completely surrounding some of his hoplites and cutting through them with the swordmasters. These guys are already up to 130 kills, only have 25 losses. So yeah, in a melee fight, in a pure melee fight, I'm going to be able to win these pretty easily. Spear wall next to these Thessalians, again, I tried to tie them down with my Riders of the Hunt, but they were already really hurt. And I just activated counter-cavalry tactics, but he's going to be able to pull out of there, which is unfortunate for me. But his general's actually really isolated at this point as well. A lot of his melee units can't really reinforce, so a bunch of these Swordmasters and Spear Wall are going to get into melee with the Royal Peltas, and again, I should be able to win this fight relatively easy. They've actually already made a really big impact on the battle. They're up to 200 kills, while a lot of them were on Round Shield Swordsmen, and those were kind of throwaway melee units, so I didn't care too much about that, to be honest. Swordmasters should be able to wrap them up, though. And then another back charge with the Swordmasters over here. Bunch of jabs to the face and the hoplites. And battle's starting to shift in my favor a little bit. I did notice that his archers were shooting into the back of the Swordmasters, and I definitely don't want that, so I'm going to pull some of my Spear Wall and try to chase them off relatively soon here, I think. And then these hoplites aren't going to be able to... Or no, these are Levy Pikemen. Levy Pikemen, from the front, I mean, they should beat a Spear Wall maybe, but they actually didn't have very compact formation. And that's kind of important with pike units. You don't want to spread pikes out really far because it makes their killing power pretty weak, and the whole line won't engage, so that pike unit's actually not going to do a whole lot. And these Royal Peltas just completely surrounded. I actually engaged some of my Cimbri Bowwoman in there as well, just for fun. And his general's dead at this point, and he's going to rout. And now this battle's pretty much over. I mean, he's got a few units left, but he does not have the tools necessary to kill all these mostly full-strength swordsmasters. Yeah, and this last Levy Pike unit, 4 kills, haven't really made much of an impact, and just hit that from multiple angles, and he's going to concede. So, yeah, my Cimbri Bowman actually did relatively well. I think I probably should have done a better job in that skirmish fight, considering I had 5 150 range archers, and he only had 2. Now, Cretans are going to beat Cimbri Bowwoman head-on-head, of course. They have higher armor, higher weapon damage. But, yeah, I feel like I maybe could have done a little bit better in that skirmish fight. He brought a lot of cavalry, and one thing I feel like I did really well in that battle was just negating that cavalry advantage he had. Keep your cavalry close to your lines. Don't bring a lot of it, because with Suebi, cavalry is just not that good. Like, the noble horse are not worth their cost, and the riders of the hunt are okay mid-tier cav, but you don't want to bring a lot of them. Where you win battles with Suebi is if you choose to bring a skirmish core with the Cimbris, you can. That can definitely work. But where they really shine is in the melee department. They have a lot of variety and a lot of really good mid-tier units now. That patch a couple patches ago when they buffed the Suebi roster was such a boon to them because they were horrible before, and now they just have a really nice selection of units. And the Spearwall honestly did really well for me. 142 kills, 118 kills, and then of course the core, the Swordmasters. 3 of those cut through the hoplites quite easily. And yeah, the only way he was going to win that was if his cavalry was able to get a lot of really good charges off once the melee engagement started, because the whole point of his army was getting these cheap hoplites to tie down my swords and then getting hammer and anvils off. And he wasn't able to do that because I kept my spears close to my lines, and the cav that I did bring didn't do a lot in terms of killing, but it did tie down his cavalry, and then my spears could come in and take out his. So things worked out pretty well for me. We actually did play another battle, and I'll bring that to you guys relatively soon. That one was Parthia versus something. Actually, I can't remember now. But I'll bring that one to you as well. And I hope you guys enjoyed the replay, and I'll talk to you all later. Any Pride signing out.